Hi everyone, back to the more YouTube channel. It's Chris back with my rant stroke thought of the day. I need to bring you this thought of the day before my voice disappears and I turn into the killer from Scream, because man flu has got a hold of me, guys. I'm struggling big time, but I thought I'd jump on and do this video really just to give you my take on a couple of things. It's been a bit of a difficult weekend, I think, for Newcastle, suffice to say. Nobody should have been surprised that we lost against Manchester City. It's arguably the best team in Europe right now with the best manager arguably of all time. But it wasn't the defeat, it was the performance. And again, just more kind of mediocrity, more kind of Mike Ashley era management tactics and formations and players being picked. And it's just led to a lot of people, I think, losing faith in the manager. And they're right to do that. They're right to express their opinion. Not that you would think it on X, because a lot of people now, if you have an opinion that doesn't align with theirs, just guillotine you down where you stand, really, with abuse and horrible rhetoric. To be quite honest with you, that platform is rancid. It's like a service station toilet. It's just covered in shit. And I sometimes just think, why we fucking even bother going on it, to be honest with you. I'm half tempted to pull off ever more off that platform altogether, but I do change my mind from day to day because it's good for engagement in some quarters. But going back to the point in question, it's all about Eddie Howe. So, Eddie Howe has done a brilliant job since he's been at Newcastle United. Nobody disputes that, right? Whether you want him out or you want him in, you can't sit there and say he hasn't done a magnificent job since he come in. We were dead and buried, relegation cert when he come in, and he kept us up in the first half of the season he was in, and then his first full season we finished in the top four, got the Champions League. Sensational. It really, really was. But football managers aren't judged on last season or the season before, sadly, as much as the kind of romantic within you wants to believe that isn't the case at all. I see all this stuff, people talking about, Eddie's going to be off Fergie and all that. Alex Ferguson was one result away from being sacked. I think it was Mark Robbins got him that famous goal and kept him in a job, and then look what happened after that. So all football managers are under extreme pressure, no matter how much you think they've got in the tank in terms of credit in the bank and everything else. You've only got to look at Claudio Ranieri. My God, that's probably the most rag to riches Cinderella story in modern day football. Leicester City won that Premier League. Dilly Dilly Dong, the Tinker Man, pizza, we love the guy. He got a bunch of ragamuffins and basically won the Premier League and upset the apple cart. Charming, charismatic, lovable and all that. And they sacked the bloke. That's football, sadly. As much as you don't like it, football is a bit of an ugly game. They call it the beautiful game, but it's ugly as fuck. And loads of people lose their jobs unfairly and way before the likes of Eddie Howe even feels an ounce of pressure, because there's so many people looking to put their arms around him and almost form some kind of fucking force field, a bit like the pink slime in Ghostbusters 2, I think, really, to stop Eddie Howe getting any kind of criticism. But there's no doubt about it, the criticism is coming and it's getting stronger and stronger, and I think the fans who are giving that criticism are well within their rights. These people who are throwing out superlatives like armchair supporters and fucking short memories, you and all that. Football's all about opinions, and opinions change game to game with football fans. That's the fickle nature of it. Yes, they're fickle as fuck. We're all fickle as fuck with football fans. That's the way things go. But football managers and football players are judged in moments. They're judged in results. I work in sales, and that's exactly how we're judged as well. We're judged by results. Doesn't matter what a great guy you are, what a brilliant job you've done. If you have a shit year and your figures in the toilet, you're under pressure. I've seen guys lose their job who have been with companies for years, or guys who are so good at what they do because of a few bad choices or decisions or economic situations, and they lose their job, and you can pine about it and moan about it, but unfortunately that's just life. That guy's got to go find another job, and Eddie Howe is no different at all. The way the results have gone this season and the formations he's picked, the players that he stood by, which is really what I'm talking about here. Loyalty over logic. It took me 4 minutes to get here. I told you I wasn't well. Loyalty over logic is where I want to get to with Eddie Howe. Now, Eddie Howe came at Newcastle and he was bright, he was innovative, he was everything that the previous manager wasn't, who was tired, beaten, broken down, one-dimensional, predictable, all that kind of stuff. And Eddie Howe was nothing like that at all. Bruce picked the same players, no matter how shit they are. Sounds familiar. Bruce picked the same formation, no matter how much it didn't work. Sounding a bit familiar. All of these things that Steve Bruce was doing have started to creep in to some of these criticisms of Eddie Howe. Now, I'm not saying he's the same as Steve Bruce by any stretch. Fuck me, no chance. But if he doesn't stop picking these players who are letting him down, but he puts his faith in them, he's going to bring this pressure on himself. It's already growing. There's already fans saying that he's took us as far as he can go. When he first got the job, TalkSport and all these slime balls started calling him, Newcastle's Mark Hughes, and we all laughed and said, fucking get in the bin. And then when Eddie did what he he did, they started to retract that. But the more he keeps doing what he's doing, the more that Mark Hughes comparison is going to come out. Mark Hughes got Manchester City to a certain level from fighting relegation to, I think it was top 8 or top 7 or something like that where they finished. And then Mancini came in, he took it to that next level and he won the league. Yes, they spent copious amounts of money and I appreciate the FFP restrictions are there. But Eddie Howe keeps picking a centre-back at left-back who has no pace in a league full of pacey wingers. It doesn't matter whether you're playing against first or 20th. There's pace throughout all the sides. And Dan Burn is targeted week in and week out. And he comes and he talks about Dan Burn's strengths. And yes, he's good in the air. Yes, he's a talker. Yes, he's a Geordie. You know, same with Sean Longstaff, who has run his nuts off for this team. But Sean got injured, rushed himself back from injury, as did Dan Burn, and you can see that neither one of them have recovered. With Dan Burn, he's past 31 now. He's lost that extra yard of pace that he maybe even had 1 fucking yard of pace. He's got no pace now. But with Sean Longstaff, that's a player that relies on his just kind of, you know, his graft and his energy up and down the park. You know, what he lacks in quality, he makes up for in work rate. But he can't run because he's fucked. He's getting injections in an ankle. And you're looking at Eddie Howe and you're thinking, why are you persevering with these players when you've got someone like Lewis Hall and Louis Miley on the bench who can come in and play in their places and give you energy, give you vigour, give you something different, youthful exuberance. If Eddie Howe played those two lads at the weekend from the start and we got beat, you'd say, well, at least he had a fucking go. He hasn't just gone with the tried and tested same old loyal players. It's the same with Miggy Almiron. Miggy Almiron hasn't kicked his own arse all fucking season. Miggy Almiron had the best season of his whole career last season. We should have sold him in the summer and got 30 million quid. We had another chance to sell him in January and we still didn't fucking sell him. And we haven't reinvested in this squad and upgraded that position where Miggy Almiron, quite frankly, flatters to deceive. His stats for a winger in his time in the Premier League in over 170 games or something is fucking disgraceful. Doesn't matter how much he smiles and runs around and is a lovely lad. Doesn't matter a fuck. You look at the rest of the team as well. Sven Botman's playing with an injury. You know, Kieran Trippier has been off form this season. And Eddie's letting this loyalty overrule the logic. How many games have we not won or have we drawn because Eddie hasn't made the changes? He hasn't made the changes from the start. His substitutions are way too late. He gives these lads way too long in a game to make an impact. You know, have some bravery, Eddie. Make a sub at half time. Try and change it up. Especially in the likes of the Luton game, for example. We could have won that fucking game. You know, if he'd made the changes at half time. Even the City game at the weekend. Who's to say you make those changes at half time? We've come out fresh as fuck in the first bit of the second half. Get a goal early doors. We could have really pushed City back. You know, chances are they would have just turned up the heat because they're already in second gear and they would have blown us away. But it's these decisions that I'm questioning as the manager. You know, his loyalty to players really is causing him problems that he doesn't need at this football club. I know there's restrictions and mitigations with injury and everything else, but Eddie is bringing these problems on himself. And it's funny because if you listen to Bournemouth fans, he was exactly the same there, loyal to players who were off form and weren't contributing to the team. We've got a 2-week break now in a warm weather camp, and you know, it's a chance for the players to rest and recuperate. But we'll come back against West Ham. You just know for a fact that Burn and Longstaff are going to start again regardless of how shit they may have played in the last game. And when a player doesn't feel like his position's under threat, then you get complacency creeping into the game. You know, Dan Burn is a lovely lad, you know, and he's a Geordie boy as well, but it shouldn't matter what's on your fucking passport for where you were born to get in a starting position in this team. There's players there who can come in, do something different, freshen up this team, give us another option. Elliot Anderson looked fantastic when he come off the bench. I know he's trying to get back from fitness, but he's a player that can add a spark in midfield. Louis Miley's great on the ball. I don't think I've seen him lose the ball. They get 100% passing percentages when he come off on the weekend for half an hour. Lewis Hall looked fresh as a wing back. If you're going to play 5 at the back, play Lewis Hall as a wing back and get up and down the park. We can see he's got a goal in him too. He's got one of a left peg. Dan Burn offers nothing at left back except for a liability that other teams are targeting. You've got to grow some balls, Eddie Howe, and make some decisions, because I tell you something, if you stick by these players for the rest of the season and the cost is more results, it could be a real issue for you come the summer. I still think the owners will stick by them for what it's worth, but if we don't upgrade on these players in the summer, we're going to have more of the same turgid shit next season, mid-table mediocrity. And I think we should have changed a lot of faces in the summer just gone when they were at their peak for selling in the market, and we didn't do it. You look at the likes of West Ham, made some great signings, shrewd signings, moved players on, brought players in. We didn't do it. We stuck by these players who are now, you know, another year older, on the wrong side of 30. You know, injuries creeping in, likes of Wilson, likes of Burn, even the likes of Cher. You know, as good as he's been at times this season, why have we not got a replacement for Cher? Trippier, yes, we've got Tino, but even when Tino was fit, he wouldn't play him. When Trippier was off form, when Burn was off form, I don't get it, I really don't. But something needs to change really soon, or Eddie Howe's loyalty over logic could cost him his job. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. We always like to hear from you. Smash a like, subscribe if you can, guys. Get us close to that 7,000 mark. We're nearly there. We'll be back. What's going on tonight? Make sure you tune in, check it out. We'll see you there. Cheers now. Bye.